Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that will change the way you carry yourself forever. Every single day, people are sizing you up. They're watching how you move, how you speak, and how much you respect yourself. And from that, they decide exactly how to treat you. The truth is, disrespect doesn't come out of nowhere. It's a test. It's a way for others to see if you'll shrink, if you'll bend, or if you'll stand tall and demand the respect you deserve without saying a word. If you're tired of being overlooked, underestimated, or disrespected, this is where it ends. Because today, I'm going to give you the mindset and tools to walk into any room and own it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get something straight right now. Respect is not a privilege someone else hands to you. It is a standard you set for yourself and enforce every single day. If someone doesn't respect you, you don't beg for their approval, you don't shrink yourself to fit their comfort, and you don't compromise who you are. You rise higher, you get sharper, you become someone they cannot ignore. The truth is, people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you, and if you want respect, you must first demand it. Not with your words, but with your presence, your boundaries, and the way you carry yourself in every room you walk into. The first step in handling anyone who disrespects you is to strengthen your own sense of self. When you know who you are, when you're grounded in your values, no one's words or behavior can shake you. People prey on insecurity. They sense weakness like sharks smell blood. If you walk into a room unsure of yourself, you invite people to question you, push you, and test you. But when you walk in knowing exactly what you stand for, people feel it before you even speak. Respect starts from within. It comes from doing the work to know your worth and refusing to let anyone convince you otherwise. When someone tries to undermine you, their actions become background noise because you've built a foundation so strong that no opinion can shake it. The second step is to set clear boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls, they are filters. They separate what you will allow into your life and what you won't. People who disrespect you will always push limits, and it's your job to enforce those limits without hesitation. You don't have to yell or get emotional to hold your ground. Strength is in calmness. It's in the ability to say no without explaining yourself, to step back from relationships that drain you, and to walk away from situations that compromise your dignity. Too often people let disrespect slide because they fear confrontation, but avoiding confrontation is what gives disrespect a home in your life. You don't need to meet aggression with aggression, but you do need to be unshakable in your standards. Silence can be powerful, distance can be powerful, and refusing to tolerate certain behavior is how you teach people how to treat you. The third way to handle disrespect is to develop emotional control. When someone disrespects you, their goal is often to get a reaction out of you. They want to see you angry, defensive, or upset because it gives them power. The moment you react emotionally, you hand over control of the situation. But when you stay composed, you win. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you choose how and when to express them. It's being strategic. It's understanding that your calmness is a weapon. People don't expect composure in the face of disrespect, and that's exactly why it's so effective. You become untouchable when others realize they can't rattle you. The fourth step is to communicate with precision. People who disrespect you thrive on confusion and weakness in communication. They look for hesitation, for uncertainty, for words that undermine your confidence. So you must be intentional with your language. Speak directly, use fewer words. Drop filler language like I think or I feel, stand tall, make eye contact, and speak with authority. This doesn't mean you become aggressive. It means your words carry weight because they're backed by conviction. The way you speak is a reflection of how you see yourself, and when you communicate with clarity and confidence, people take notice. If someone disrespects you verbally, do not match their energy. Match it with calm authority. You are not there to prove anything. You are there to assert your presence. The fifth and final step is to know when to walk away. Respect is not something you should have to beg for or chase. If someone consistently disrespects you, despite your efforts to address it, you owe it to yourself to cut ties. Walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. It shows that your self-worth is not up for negotiation. Too many people stay in toxic relationships, whether personal or professional, because they fear what will happen if they leave. But the truth is, nothing will drain your confidence faster than surrounding yourself with people who don't value you. Walking away sends a clear message. You respect yourself too much to stay where you're not respected. And when you set that standard, you attract people who recognize your worth without you having to demand it. Now let's talk about what happens internally when you start applying these principles. Handling disrespect isn't just about dealing with other people. It's about transforming yourself into someone who cannot be disrespected easily. This requires discipline. It requires you to become hyper-aware of your body language, your tone, your mindset. People can sense insecurity before you even open your mouth. They notice if your shoulders are slouched, if you avoid eye contact, if your voice trembles. They notice if you seek validation or if you're desperate to be liked. That's why respect starts with your presence. Stand tall, walk with purpose, and carry yourself like you belong in every room you enter. You don't need to announce your confidence. It should radiate from you. You must also understand that disrespect says more about the other person than it does about you. Often, people who are disrespectful are projecting their own insecurities, their own fears, their own lack of self-worth. That doesn't mean you tolerate their behavior, but it does mean you stop internalizing it. When you realize how their behavior isn't a reflection of your value, it becomes easier to respond with strength instead of emotion. You stop taking things personally, and that's when you gain real control. In every interaction, remember this: respect is energy. You either project strength and self-respect, or you project weakness and desperation. People will mirror that energy back to you. If you carry yourself with quiet confidence, if you respect yourself enough to hold your ground, others will feel that energy and adjust accordingly. The world responds to those who refuse to compromise their standards. There will always be people who try to test you, undermine you, or challenge your worth. That's inevitable. What matters is how you respond. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You just have to be the one who commands attention without even trying. Respect isn't about intimidation, it's about certainty. It's about knowing exactly who you are and refusing to let anyone rewrite that story for you. Every time you enforce a boundary, every time you stay calm under pressure, every time you walk away from disrespect, you're telling the world that you are not here to be underestimated. When you live by these principles, you stop chasing respect and start attracting it. People can sense when they can't get away with mistreating you. They can sense when you are not someone to be played with. That's the kind of presence you need to build, because once you have it, everything changes. People start treating you differently. Opportunities come your way. Your confidence grows. And most importantly, you stop wasting time and energy on people who don't deserve access to you. And here's something you need to understand on a deeper level. Respect isn't about titles, positions, or status. It's about energy. People don't respect you because of what you say you are. They respect you because of what you project. Your energy, your body language, and your behavior speak louder than anything you could ever verbalize. This is why self-respect is non-negotiable. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. You can demand respect all you want, but if you don't carry yourself like someone worthy of it, others will see right through you. Respect is magnetic. It's an unspoken force that makes people pay attention, and that force is built through discipline, consistency, and a refusal to compromise your standards. You have to start training yourself to respond to disrespect with control, not emotion. When you get defensive, when you let someone pull you out of character, you're giving them exactly what they want. People who disrespect you are often testing you. They want to see if they can get under your skin. They want to see if they can provoke a reaction that puts them in control. But when you stay composed, when you show them that their behavior doesn't affect you, you flip the power dynamic. Suddenly, they're the ones who feel small, not you. That's because true strength is calm, and calmness is intimidating to those who rely on chaos. One of the most powerful skills you can develop is the ability to pause. Don't rush to respond to disrespect. Don't feel pressured to match their tone or meet their aggression. Take a breath, observe, choose your response. That pause is power because it keeps you in control of yourself. And when you're in control of yourself, no one can control you. That's the key to handling disrespect, mastering yourself first. You can't control other people's behavior, but you can absolutely control how you respond to it. And That's where real power lies. You also need to understand that not all disrespect deserves your attention. Some people disrespect you because they crave it. They want the reaction, they want the attention, they want to see you flustered. The moment you react, you feed them. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. There's nothing more frustrating to someone trying to provoke you than realizing they can't. Silence is a statement. It says, "You don't even deserve my energy." And when you master that, you elevate yourself above the drama that most people get caught up in. This doesn't mean you let disrespect slide. There's a difference between ignoring someone to maintain your peace and tolerating poor behavior. You have to be strategic. When disrespect crosses certain boundaries, you address it directly, firmly, and calmly. You don't need to yell or raise your voice. The quiet confidence in your tone is what makes your words carry weight. Think about the most powerful people you've seen in a room. They're not the loudest ones. They're the ones who speak less but command more. That's because they know their worth, and they don't waste energy proving it to others. You have to become someone who is selective about where your energy goes. Every time you engage with someone who doesn't respect you, you're giving them power. Stop giving people free access to your emotional space. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. The way you spend your energy determines the quality of your life. And if you're constantly pouring that energy into people who don't respect you, you'll never have the strength to focus on those who do. Start evaluating your environment. Look at the people you allow around you. Are they lifting you up, or are they tearing you down? Are they pushing you to grow, or are they undermining your confidence? Sometimes handling disrespect means making hard choices. It means distancing yourself from people you once trusted, setting boundaries with family members, or walking away from relationships you've outgrown. This is not easy, but it's necessary. You cannot expect to thrive in an environment where you're constantly disrespected. Your environment either empowers you or drains you, and if it's draining you, it's time to change it. One of the most powerful ways to command respect is to develop competence. The more skilled and capable you are, the harder it becomes for people to dismiss you. Competence breeds confidence. When you're exceptional at what you do, when you put in the work to master your craft, you earn a level of respect that cannot be faked. People may still try to undermine you, but your ability to deliver results will silence them. That's why self-improvement is key. Every time you invest in your growth, you increase your value. And when your value is undeniable, disrespect has no real impact because your reputation speaks louder than anyone's opinion. Let's be honest, some people disrespect others because they're threatened. They see something in you that makes them uncomfortable. Maybe it's your confidence, your ambition, or the fact that you refuse to conform. Whatever it is, their disrespect is often a reflection of their own insecurities. Understanding this shifts your perspective. Instead of feeling hurt or angry, you start to feel empowered because their behavior reveals more about them than it does about you. This doesn't mean you tolerate it, but it does mean you stop taking it personally. The less personally you take things, the more untouchable you become. You have to start carrying yourself like someone who doesn't need anyone's validation. That's what truly commands respect. When you're desperate for approval, when you try too hard to make people like you, they sense it and they take advantage of it. But when you're secure in who you are, when you're comfortable with yourself, people can't manipulate you with their opinions. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is quiet certainty. It's knowing your worth without needing to announce it. That's what makes people respect you, even if they don't like you. Think about the times you've been in a room with someone who had presence. You know the kind of presence I'm talking about, the kind that makes you notice them without them saying a word. That presence doesn't come from being loud or trying to dominate the room. It comes from inner strength. It comes from someone who has done the work on themselves, who knows their value, and who doesn't compromise it for anyone. That's the kind of presence you need to cultivate, and it starts with your mindset. Stop seeking respect from people who aren't capable of giving it. Some people don't respect themselves, so how can they respect you? Instead of trying to change them, focus on elevating yourself. When you set the bar high for yourself, when you operate at a higher level, people either rise to meet you or they remove themselves from your life. And that's exactly what you want. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't even need everyone to respect you. What you need is to respect yourself so deeply that the opinions of others no longer define you. When you stop chasing respect and start living in a way that demands it, everything changes. You walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently. You're no longer afraid of confrontation because you know your worth. You're no longer afraid of walking away because you know what you bring to the table. Respect is not something you negotiate. Respect is a reflection of the way you see yourself, and if you want to command it from others, you have to start by becoming the kind of person who naturally exudes it. It's in your posture, your tone of voice, the way you walk into a room, the way you make decisions, and the way you treat yourself when no one else is watching. You cannot fake it. People can sense authenticity, and they can smell insecurity from a mile away. That's why handling disrespect starts with an inner transformation. When you develop true self-respect, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, and that's exactly what makes you powerful. People are drawn to those who are calm, collected, and secure in their identity, because that's rare. Most people are constantly seeking validation, constantly adjusting themselves to fit in, constantly trying to be accepted. But when you stand firm, when you are unapologetically yourself, you separate yourself from the crowd. One of the most underestimated aspects of commanding respect is body language. Long before you open your mouth, people are already forming opinions about you based on how you carry yourself. If you slouch, avoid eye contact, or move nervously, you send a message of uncertainty. But when you walk tall, with your shoulders back, head held high, and eyes steady, you communicate strength without saying a word. The simple act of standing tall shifts the way people perceive you, but more importantly, it shifts the way you perceive yourself. When you start acting like someone worthy of respect, you begin to feel like someone worthy of respect. That internal belief radiates outward, and it changes the dynamic of every interaction you have. You also need to master your voice. The way you speak tells people how to treat you. If your voice trembles, if you use too many filler words, if you sound unsure, you give away your power. But when you slow down, speak clearly, and project your voice, people pay attention. You don't need to yell to be heard. In fact, yelling often signals a lack of control. True authority is in calm, measured speech. It's in choosing your words carefully and delivering them with intention. People respect clarity and confidence, and those traits are developed through practice and discipline. Record yourself speaking, work on eliminating nervous habits, and focus on speaking from a place of strength. The more comfortable you become in your voice, the more naturally you'll command respect. Handling disrespect also requires emotional intelligence. When someone disrespects you, your instinct might be to react, to fire back, to prove a point. But that reaction often works against you. People who are disrespectful want to see you lose control because it validates their behavior. They want to see you flustered because it gives them leverage. That's why emotional control is so powerful. When you remain composed, you disarm them. They can't manipulate you because you're not giving them the emotional reaction they crave. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you choose to respond with strategy, not impulse. Emotional control is the foundation of power because it shows you are in control of yourself, and that makes you someone people cannot easily dominate. Another part of commanding respect is refusing to engage in unnecessary battles. You don't need to respond to every insult, every slight, or every act of disrespect. Sometimes the most powerful move is to disengage completely. When you refuse to give energy to negativity, you starve it. Disrespect often thrives on attention, and when you deny that attention, it loses its power. This doesn't mean you ignore everything. There are times when you need to address disrespect directly, but not every situation deserves your reaction. Learn to pick your battles. Save your energy for moments that matter, because when you speak sparingly and act intentionally, your words and actions carry far more weight. Building respect also comes from being consistent. People may not always like you, but they will respect you if you're consistent in your values and actions. When you say what you mean and mean what you say, people take notice. They know where you stand. They know what you will and won't tolerate. Consistency is a form of strength because it shows that your standards aren't negotiable based on convenience or emotion. Too many people lose respect because they send mixed messages. They say one thing, but do another. They claim to have boundaries, but let people cross them. If you want respect, you have to draw the line and keep it there, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. There's also tremendous power in restraint. When someone disrespects you, it's tempting to match their energy, to throw insults back, to get loud. But restraint is a sign of mastery. Restraint tells people that you don't need to prove yourself. It tells them you are in control. Think about the leaders, the mentors, or the individuals you've admired most in your life. Chances are they weren't the ones who reacted impulsively to everything. They were the ones who stayed calm under pressure, who thought before they spoke, who moved with intention. Restraint is not weakness, it's discipline. And discipline is what separates those who are respected from those who are not. Another powerful way to handle disrespect is to develop leverage. People respect strength, but strength doesn't always come from physical power or loudness. It comes from value. The more value you bring to the table, the harder it is for others to dismiss you. This is why investing in yourself is so critical. When you're constantly learning, growing, and improving, you increase your leverage, whether it's through your skills, your knowledge, or your ability to stay calm and effective in high-pressure situations. Leverage makes you someone who cannot be easily disrespected. People may try, but they won't succeed because your value speaks louder than their words. It's also important to remember that respect isn't about making people fear you. Fear and respect are not the same thing. Fear creates compliance, but respect creates influence. When you're respected, people listen to you because they admire you, not because they're afraid of you. True respect is earned through integrity, strength, and consistency. It's earned through the way you carry yourself, the way you treat others, and the way you refuse to compromise your principles. When you lead with authenticity and confidence, you create an aura of respect that draws the right people to you and pushes away those who don't belong in your life. You will always encounter people who don't respect you. That's a fact of life. The question is, what will you do about it? Will you let it shake you, or will you use it to sharpen yourself? Disrespect can actually be a gift, if you choose to see it that way. It reveals people's character. It shows you who you're dealing with. It teaches you where to draw boundaries. It gives you opportunities to practice self-control, composure, and strength. The more you experience it, the more you realize that someone else's lack of respect has nothing to do with your value. And once you truly understand that, you become untouchable. Start to see yourself as a standard, a person of principle, a person who walks into a room and sets the tone, not someone who adjusts to the tone others create. When you become that person, disrespect loses its power over you. It may still happen, but it won't shake you because you'll know exactly who you are. People will notice, they'll feel your energy, they'll sense that you are not easily moved, not easily manipulated, and not easily disrespected. That's when respect stops being something you fight for and becomes something you naturally command. And when you start to live this way, you begin to notice subtle shifts in how people approach you. They speak to you differently. They move with a little more caution around you, not because you've intimidated them, but because you've set an unspoken standard. That standard is felt in your tone, your posture, and the choices you make. It's in how you value your time, in how you prioritize your energy, and in the way you refuse to tolerate nonsense. This isn't arrogance. This isn't about being cold or unapproachable. This is about self-respect so deeply ingrained that it radiates from you without effort. People can sense it when you've done the work to truly know yourself. They can see that you're not desperate for validation, and they respect that, even if they don't fully understand it. Handling disrespect effectively also requires mental resilience. Disrespect can sting. It can catch you off guard, make you question yourself, or even make you feel small if you're not careful. But that feeling is temporary, and you can train yourself to see it for what it is, a test. Every time someone disrespects you, they are handing you an opportunity to sharpen yourself. It's like a weight in a gym. It may feel heavy, but lifting it makes you stronger. The more you experience disrespect and respond with composure, the more confident and resilient you become. Eventually, disrespect stops bothering you. It becomes background noise, and your ability to rise above it becomes one of your greatest strengths. You also start to realize that respect is deeply tied to consistency and action. The way you handle small situations will determine how people treat you in bigger ones. If you let small disrespect slide, people will assume they can get away with more. If you break your own standards, people will see that you don't truly value them. Respect is built over time, and every interaction either reinforces or erodes it. That's why you have to pay attention to the details, the tone you use when you say no, the way you respond when someone tries to push your limits, and the way you hold yourself accountable. Respect doesn't just come from how you handle others, it also comes from how you handle yourself. When you start practicing this level of self-discipline, your world begins to shift. You no longer tolerate being in environments that drain your energy or being around people who belittle you. You start to realize that your peace of mind is priceless and you protect it fiercely. The higher your standards become, the fewer people will be able to meet them, and that's a good thing. Not everyone deserves access to you. When you stop letting everyone in, you create space for people who truly value you. Respect is a filter, and the more you enforce it, the better your relationships become. There's another layer to all of this, and it's the ability to stay grounded no matter what. When you're deeply grounded, no insult, no criticism, and no disrespect can throw you off balance. People can say whatever they want, and it doesn't penetrate because you know who you are. Being grounded means you've built your self-worth on something stronger than other people's opinions. You've done the work to understand your values, your strengths, and your flaws, and you're not afraid of them. This level of self-awareness makes you unshakable. People may try to provoke you, but they won't succeed because your identity is not tied to their approval. This is why it's so important to invest time in building yourself mentally and emotionally. Read, learn, and expand your mind. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Develop skills that give you confidence. When you know you're capable, you stop overreacting to disrespect because you no longer feel threatened by it. You're Oprah. Adding from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Another key piece of this puzzle is decisiveness. People respect those who are clear and confident in their decisions. Indecision invites disrespect because it shows uncertainty, and uncertainty is weakness in the eyes of those looking to test you. When you speak, speak with conviction. When you choose, choose with purpose. This doesn't mean you'll always be right, but it shows that you trust yourself enough to act. Respect is often tied to leadership, and leadership is about having the courage to take responsibility for your choices. The more decisive you are, the more people trust and respect you. The way you respond to conflict also determines the level of respect you command. When faced with conflict, most people either become aggressive or avoidant. Both extremes erode respect. Aggression shows a lack of control, and avoidance signals weakness. The key is assertiveness, standing your ground firmly and calmly without hostility. Assertiveness is power. It shows that you can handle tension without crumbling under pressure, and that's rare. When you handle conflict this way, you gain respect not only from those around you but also from yourself. You prove to yourself that you can remain calm and in control in the face of chaos, and that builds confidence that carries over into every part of your life. One of the hardest but most powerful things you'll ever do is learn to walk away from disrespect without bitterness. This is where true strength shows. It's easy to get angry, to hold grudges, or to try to get revenge, but that keeps you tied to the negativity. Walking away with peace is a sign that you value yourself too much to be consumed by someone else's behavior. It shows emotional maturity. It shows that you've moved beyond needing validation from others. And that kind of strength is magnetic. People notice when you're unbothered, when you refuse to lower yours, to someone else's level. They might not admit it, but they respect it deeply. You'll also find that respect grows when you start holding yourself to the same standards you expect from others. It's not enough to demand respect if you don't live in a way that earns it. If you want people to listen to you, you need to be someone worth listening to. If you want people to take you seriously, you need to take yourself seriously. Respect is built through integrity, doing what you say you'll do, keeping your word, and staying true to your principles even when it's difficult. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect your consistency. At the same time, you can't let other people's disrespect define your identity. Too many people spend their lives trying to prove themselves to those who don't value them, and it's a losing game. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. The people who matter will see it, and the ones who don't are irrelevant. When you internalize this, you free yourself, you stop chasing approval, and you start building your life on your own terms. That freedom makes you powerful, and power naturally commands respect. What you'll notice as you grow is that the way people treat you is often a reflection of how you treat yourself. If you allow disrespect, it will continue. If you tolerate negativity, it will multiply. But if you set a clear standard, enforce your boundaries, and live with integrity, people will either rise to meet you or remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win. Respect is not about controlling other people, it's about controlling yourself. The stronger you become, the less room there is for disrespect in your life because people will feel your energy and adjust accordingly. And this is where you begin to understand that commanding respect is less about what you do in reaction to others and more about the identity you choose to embody. You start to see yourself as a standard setter, someone who doesn't just respond to situations, but actively defines them. People notice this shift, even if they can't articulate it. They sense that you move differently, you're not desperate to prove anything, and you're not easily shaken. That kind of steadiness is magnetic because so few people truly possess it. Most are constantly reacting to criticism, reacting to praise, reacting to conflict. But you've reached a place where your sense of self is so deeply rooted that their behavior no longer dictates your emotions or actions. This level of self-respect requires brutal honesty with yourself. You have to look at the ways you've allowed disrespect into your life, not just from others, but from yourself. Disrespect doesn't always come from external sources. It starts within. How many times have you disrespected your own standards, your own goals, your own time? How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, or tolerated behavior you knew was unacceptable because you didn't want to upset someone? Respecting yourself means making hard decisions that protect your integrity, even when they're uncomfortable. It means cutting off your own excuses and refusing to compromise your values. When you do this, your confidence grows because you know you can rely on yourself to stand firm. Another thing you start to master is presence. Presence is a quiet power that speaks louder than any words. It's in the way you stand, the way you walk, the way you hold your gaze. People who lack presence often blend into the background, but when you cultivate presence, you naturally draw attention without trying. Presence comes from awareness, being fully in the moment, fully in control, and fully confident in your own skin. When you walk into a room and carry yourself with certainty, people instinctively pay attention. They might not even know why. That's the energy you want to develop, because presence commands respect before you've said a single word. The process of handling disrespect also becomes a process of sharpening your instincts. You begin to notice subtle cues, small signs in someone's tone or body language that tell you their intentions before they even act on them. This awareness is like a shield because it allows you to anticipate and prepare instead of reacting blindly. Most people miss these signals because they're too distracted or too eager to be liked. But when you operate from a place of strength, you become hyper-aware. You can read people, assess situations quickly, and decide how to respond strategically. That level of control separates you from those who constantly find themselves at the mercy of others' behavior. You'll also learn that respect isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's in the way people lower their voices when they speak to you, or the way they hesitate before interrupting you, or how they look to you for cues in a situation. It's not about demanding obedience. It's about creating an environment where your presence naturally sets the tone. That kind of respect doesn't come from intimidation, it comes from consistency. People watch you closely, whether you realize it or not. They notice how you handle pressure, how you treat others, how you carry yourself in difficult situations. Over time, this builds a reputation. And that reputation speaks for you even when you're not in the room. One of the greatest lessons in commanding respect is learning to embrace solitude. There's a strength that comes from not needing to be surrounded by people all the time. When you're comfortable being alone, you become harder to manipulate. You're no longer afraid of walking away because you know your worth isn't tied to being accepted or included. Solitude gives you clarity. It allows you to reflect, to recharge, and to reconnect with your own values. And when you're grounded in yourself, people can sense that independence. They know you're not someone who can be easily swayed or pressured because your sense of self doesn't rely on their approval. Another key part of this journey is becoming someone who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. True authority isn't about volume, it's about weight. The weight of your words comes from the way you live your life. If you're disciplined, if you're consistent, if you hold yourself to high standards, your words will naturally carry more power. People listen when they know you're someone who backs up what you say with action. Respect is deeply tied to integrity. If your actions and words are aligned, people trust you, and trust is the foundation of respect. As you continue to grow in this mindset, you'll notice that people who used to test you start to think twice. They may not verbalize it, but they feel your energy. They sense that you're not someone they can easily push around. And if they do try, they quickly realize it's not worth it. This doesn't mean you're aggressive or confrontational. It means you've built a level of inner strength that speaks for itself. That's when handling disrespect stops being a conscious effort and becomes second nature. You no longer have to think about how to respond. Your presence does the work for you. But let's go deeper into the psychology of respect. People naturally gravitate toward those who project certainty. Certainty is rare because most people live in doubt. They doubt themselves, their abilities, their decisions. When you project certainty, you stand out. It's not about pretending to know everything. It's about trusting yourself even when you don't. It's about carrying yourself with the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. That belief is contagious, and it's one of the most attractive and respected qualities you can have. When people sense your certainty, they treat you differently because they're drawn to stability in a world full of uncertainty. There's also a power in strategic vulnerability. Being respected doesn't mean you have to act invincible. In fact, people often respect those who are willing to be honest about their struggles, as long as it's done with strength. Vulnerability isn't weakness when it's paired with confidence, it's authenticity. People respect authenticity because it's rare. Too many people hide behind masks, trying to project an image of perfection. But when you're open about your journey, when you show strength through your challenges rather than pretending they don't exist, you gain respect on a deeper level. People see you as real, but also unshakable because you're not hiding from yourself. Handling disrespect also requires mastering your reactions under pressure. This is where emotional discipline becomes a weapon. Imagine being insulted in front of others and not flinching. Imagine being tested and remaining calm, collected, and strategic. That level of composure not only commands respect, but also throws people off balance. Most expect an emotional reaction because that's the norm. When you break that pattern, you become unpredictable in the best way. People don't know how to manipulate someone who doesn't react the way they expect. That unpredictability paired with confidence makes you powerful in any setting. One of the greatest lessons in commanding respect is learning to embrace solitude. There's a strength that comes from not needing to be surrounded by people all the time. When you're comfortable being alone, you become harder to manipulate. You're no longer afraid of walking away because you know your worth isn't tied to being accepted or included. Solitude gives you clarity. It allows you to reflect, to recharge, and to reconnect with your own values. And when you're grounded in yourself, people can sense that independence. They know you're not someone who can be easily swayed or pressured because your sense of self doesn't rely on their approval. Another key part of this journey is becoming someone who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. True authority isn't about volume, it's about weight. The weight of your words comes from the way you live your life. If you're disciplined, if you're consistent, if you hold yourself to high standards, your words will naturally carry more power. People listen when they know you're someone who backs up what you say with action. Respect is deeply tied to integrity. If your actions and words are aligned, people trust you, and trust is the foundation of respect. As you continue to grow in this mindset, you'll notice that people who used to test you start to think twice. They may not verbalize it, but they feel your energy. They sense that you're not someone they can easily push around. And if they do try, they quickly realize it's not worth it. This doesn't mean you're aggressive or confrontational. It means you've built a level of inner strength that speaks for itself. That's when handling disrespect stops being a conscious effort and becomes second nature. You no longer have to think about how to respond. Your presence does the work for you. But let's go deeper into the psychology of respect. People naturally gravitate toward those who project certainty. Certainty is rare because most people live in doubt. They doubt themselves, their abilities, their decisions. When you project certainty, you stand out. It's not about pretending to know everything. It's about trusting yourself even when you don't. It's about carrying yourself with the belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. That belief is contagious, and it's one of the most attractive and respected qualities you can have. When people sense your certainty, they treat you differently because they're drawn to stability in a world full of uncertainty. There's also a power in strategic vulnerability. Being respected doesn't mean you have to act invincible. In fact, people often respect those who are willing to be honest about their struggles, as long as it's done with strength. Vulnerability isn't weakness when it's paired with confidence, it's authenticity. People respect authenticity because it's rare. Too many people hide behind masks, trying to project an image of perfection. But when you're open about your journey, when you show strength through your challenges rather than pretending they don't exist, you gain respect on a deeper level. People see you as real, but also unshakable because you're not hiding from yourself. Handling disrespect also requires mastering your reactions under pressure. This is where emotional discipline becomes a weapon. Imagine being insulted in front of others and not flinching. Imagine being tested and remaining calm, collected, and strategic. That level of composure not only commands respect, but also throws people off balance. Most expect an emotional reaction because that's the norm. When you break that pattern, you become unpredictable in the best way. People don't know how to manipulate someone who doesn't react the way they expect. That unpredictability paired with confidence makes you powerful in any setting. And you'll notice something interesting as you grow. People who once disrespected you may start to respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because you changed your energy. When you elevate yourself, people have no choice but to adjust how they treat you. Those who can't or won't rise to your level will naturally drift away, and that's a blessing. Disrespect often acts as a filter, revealing who truly belongs in your life. Instead of seeing it as an attack, you start seeing it as a tool. It shows you where to invest your time and where to pull back. This shift in perspective frees you because you no longer take things personally. Over time, you'll reach a place where your respect for yourself sets the tone for every interaction. You won't need to constantly assert yourself because your standards will do the work. People will feel the strength in your boundaries, the calm in your demeanor, and the conviction in your choices. Respect will become a natural extension of who you are, not something you chase. And when you get to this level, you won't just handle disrespect, you'll rise so far above it that it won't even touch you.